Thank you, Ambassador, for your time. Yours, really a great opportunity for us to be able to sit here with you, and we would like to discuss with you some of the, just not only an opportunity but also the challenge in Vietnam, which is, I believe, that over the past year, as your mission here, you will be together with us in so many special projects, and that is actually this manpower and manpower quality in Vietnam. We would like to bring in some of the news, stories as well. We would love to hear your insight. If any story you would be able to add on in some experience from Netherlands, that would be wonderful for our audience to be able to learn about you and Netherlands, as well as how much as you been, really care about those, stories in Vietnam. That's amazing. Thank you very much. So let me start with our program. This is an initiative from Respect Vietnam and our partnership. We call Vietnam Community of Learning Organization. And why we talk about learning organization? Learning organization has been, a term is not new for the world, I believe. But in Vietnam, we believe that all, young women, men and women, working in their workplace, we learn every day. It doesn't mean that each one of us really learn in the way we get to some particular goal. At the same time, our bosses might not learn with us, and that sometimes it happens to the fact that we might go in different direction, or we might not be able to meet the same goal, which is the whole idea of learning organization. Everybody learn together and exchange knowledge, create new knowledge, like technology, how to get through COVID-19, and go to the same direction or same goal. That's the whole idea of learning organization. So when we talk about some of the story and challenges and opportunity about Vietnamese manpower, I would like to start with this picture. This is the picture is one of the story that I believe that Netherlands in Vietnam and the government and yourself has been working. We're talking about the Vietnamese labor is cheap. Everywhere in the world, we keep talking about, investor coming from many countries and many other economy coming to Vietnam because our cheap labor cost. But at the same time, what we found out that maybe it's cheap because the money we pay for the worker. But if you don't giving training, you don't giving knowledge, you don't working on this picture for worker to work better, the cost actually really much higher because of other issue, also relevant issue coming out. So that's why so many companies, so many system association came to Vietnam and bringing to us so many CSR standard, corporate social responsibility, and tell the business that let's do better for our workers, governance, and But that's a great thing. And then there's so many areas we already see the improvement, like manufacturing and many other industry. There one issue that so many standard has been imposed and applied in one company, for example. We have a company of 10,000 workers. We understand 5 years ago when they met with them, they have 3 departments. Now they have 7 departments. They all do the work about standard, about training, about benefit and workers' rights, many things. But the bottom line is, things actually change or not. We see so variety of the answer here. What do you think about this story?
First and foremost, I think it's good that we're having this conversation. We had conversations in the past, and I think one thing that I really like about your organization is that you put the human factor in the heart of everything.
Thank you.
Whatever we do, whether we want to make profit, whether we care for the environment, whether we are in social services, in the end, everything boils down to the human factor. So we really need to take care of that factor. And I think learning and education, providing health and safety standards, making sure that people are safe and happy in the workplace is very important. And that is part and parcel also of corporate social responsibility. And corporate social responsibility is in itself also part of striving towards a sustainable and inclusive economy.
Yes.
So it is true, I think, that many foreign investors from Asia, but also from Europe or the United States, they are interested in the Vietnamese labor force. And yes, perhaps also because relatively speaking, Vietnamese labor force is cheap.
Yes.
However, I think if we are truly convinced that we should work towards a sustainable planet where doing business can no longer be done without realizing impact in a positive way or preventing impact in a negative way on people and planet, that we really cannot have price be the defining criterion. And I am not a regular visitor of huge workplaces, but when I look around in my own embassy, other embassies, companies that I visit, factories that I have seen, I see an enormously driven people who are eager to work, eager to learn. And I think if you are a good employer and you invest in the eagerness and the ability of the people, of your people, to actually learn, it will contribute to the productivity of these people, to their work happiness, to their health, to their wealth.
Definitely.
So investing in people by means of training, lifelong learning, making sure that there's access to health, making sure that men and women can work in a safe environment, I think eventually the investment that you do in that will gain you a lot in the longer run. So that in relation to corporate social responsibility in general. You also talked about learning organizations and employers on the one hand side and leaders of organizations on the one hand side. My philosophy is that everybody's part of the same team. So as a leader, you lead by example. And if you're a good leader, your co-workers, they will follow your example. And the most important thing that you do in the workplace is enable an environment, again, where people feel safe and secure and where they can, in the most optimal way, foster and use their talents, their experience, their knowledge for the purpose of the company, for the purpose of the civil society organization, or for the purpose of a government organization. So when people are happy, when people feel respected, when people feel safe, when people feel that they have purpose, I think the company, whether or the organization, whether private or public, and whether super commercial or less commercial, it will thrive better. So I would like to prevent a very sharp distinction between the leadership of an organization and its people, because I think they are two sides of the same coin. Then corporate social responsibility and the enormous amount of standards, criteria. Yes, I have heard that before. And I think it is also a fact, because depending on the company or the sector in which you're working, the type of employees that you have, the leadership that you will follow, it might play out differently. But I think implementing corporate social responsibility is a no-brainer anymore. It has to be done.
It's a must.
So I think it's very important that you, as the leadership of your organization or your company, sit together with your team and talk about how you're going to implement it.
Yes.
And if there is a joint understanding of the why and the how, I think eventually it will be common practice.
Yes.
It will be a second nature, and at some point in time, it's not called corporate social responsibility anymore. No, it's the new way of doing business, or the normal way of doing business.
That's very true.
So, but I think the unfortunate thing, it is still relatively new. We are still in an explorative
Yes.
phase. Corporate social responsibility is happening on the work floor in Vietnam, but it has impact, and it's part and parcel of a whole value chain. So
Yes.
we all need to work towards shared standards, standards that have a shared definition that can be understood by everybody, wherever he or she is in the value chain, and wherever he or she is or it is in the world. And then it hopefully develops towards being our second nature,
Yes.
and not the new way of doing business, but the normal way of doing business.
Way. Yes,
Because
I really like
here
that
I
concept.
come back to the fact, corporate social responsibility, it's all about making sure that you take care of your employers or of your employees, you take care of the environment in which you are working, and then you take care of your business.
Yes.
So
definitely,
it's a no-brainer.
It's no-brainer.
Not easy, but a no-brainer. So here you go.
Thank you very much. I really enjoy what you're talking about. It's not a new way of doing business, but a normal way.
Yeah.
So it is still, I see there's so many companies actually doing better and much better from time to time. But at the same time, we seeing some companies, just keep the way it is. I mean, obviously it's not a normal way of working for them. And sometimes they stop doing what they should do. And COVID-19 is one of example for those who don't want to do the job. They want to take responsibility. Do you think that because their learning process or learning curve is not going up yet, they still not learn well enough? Or why they cannot be better off in this simple, normal way of thinking?
Look, I'm not sure that I completely understand the question, but I think if you use a dire situation or a crisis like the pandemic as an excuse
then
not to take care of your people,
yes,
not to take care of the environment in which your company is operating, I think you should lose your license to operate. It has nothing to do with being an organization that is able to learn. Apparently, you are not interested. You don't have the right mentality. So
or maybe you just want to do business in very short term and then stop.
Yeah, but that is the problem, huh? If everybody is oriented in a short-term return on investment, we have no long-term impact. So I get it. Quick money, easy money is very attractive.
Yes.
But if we are sincere about really wanting to make a change, to make sure that this world is being treated in a respectful way, that we make sure that the growth of our economies is sustainable, and that the gains of economic growth trickle down to everybody, also to the people in the margins.
Yes.
I actually think that there is no place for quick money anymore. No. We should be seeking serious, high quality trade, high quality investment as drivers for development.
Yes. Yes.
And any other form of business, it will never go away entirely. But it's bad business. It's good for the people because they have short-term money, but it will never have the impact that we are seeking.
Yes, yes. You get the perfect answer for my question. I mean, basically, what we should do with would think about those people or those company who don't do the job. That's what our come in our mind talking about learning.
Yeah.
But just to wrap it up with this particular story, if it's any way that we could be able to getting more and more company doing a better job in their social responsibility or in their normal way of doing business, should we let them learn more? Because one way to the other, they got to have their business successful, or we have to have a better law, or what you think that should be better for overall picture for business in Vietnam in general?
Well, in general, I think one of the keys is with the consumers, you and me.
Yes.
So if we buy products that we do not only look at the way it looks or tastes, but that we also show an interest in how it was produced and where it came from and how much water it needed or how much chemicals or how much dye.
Yeah.
So I think to make sure that businesses are incentivized to work more sustainable, but are also enabled to work more sustainable, I think there also needs to be a change in consumer behavior. So we should look for products that also have a qualitative production process. So next to quick money, we also do not want to have the quick products anymore.
Yes.
And this is not done in a day, because this is not a walk in the park. This takes time.
Yeah.
But I think the key is also at consumers. And then for the businesses, I think it's very important that the government establishes, enables a level playing field, so that companies who really invest in corporate social responsibility, who really do their job well, that they are not, let's say, punished for being better than everybody else, for being a front runner, because their products cost more, their production processes cost more, but that they are actually awarded.
Yes.
So it is a joint action by consumers, the government, who should really ensure the level playing field, and then obviously also the businesses. And I think good examples for working towards such a level playing field is, for instance, the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, which requires for mutual trade being able to take place, that we work towards certain quality and safety standards. And that for I do realize that for many Vietnamese companies that is different than before, and it also requires an investment. Because they cannot use certain chemicals anymore. They have to make sure that their processes are leaner and meaner and better organized. But in the end, this is an investment in the short term that will pay off in the long term, not only for the company, but also for the country and the larger world.
Yes. You already told us about the next question I really want to ask, but you get it all there.
Okay.
Because the whole idea of social responsibility and fair playing fields on all the stuff we're talking about it's basically doing good. It's not gonna really become a burden for those who want to be good. Right. And then we are not only protecting vulnerable workers, but they're also protecting companies who actually do the right thing.
Exactly.
And separate and draw the line between those who do and those who don't. And I totally agree with you that the government has to step in here. But I really like what you put in, and seemed to me that is obvious, because we're looking in the market concept for those who doing business. You're looking in the customer. And that's the picture people might say is still cliche, but we're seeing that happening already. And finally is about the free trade agreement. The example with Vietnam and Europe. I think that is a really wonderful thing is happening. Even though what we maybe I just want to add one more small part here. And when we talk to some expert and then some, even government official, we're talking about how much standard would involving to make sure that business doing good job with their own business, economic benefit, and social and doing good for the non-profit side or non-monetary side is not always easy. But one part was saying that if all the standard or requirement for a country like Vietnam would be in the way that easier for the society would see, oh, here is the standard that is make it clear to say that this company doing better than other, then it would create the more public understanding. Again,
True.
learning about what's going on. Do you think it would be a good way?
Well, I think you have certain certifying organizations that enable companies who do better because they save water. They produce in an ecological way, or that dye in an environmental sustainable way. When we talk about textiles, that they can be certified using standards. And when they are certified, they can use, let's say, that certificate to prove to customers that they did their production in the best possible way. And then it is again up to consumers to award these companies by buying their products. And probably, usually, you pay a little bit more. But that might then be your investment. In this
make yourself different in the market.
Yes, exactly. You can make a difference.
As a competitive edge. Yes. And that exactly the point we're talking about learning. That is the famous saying about learning is that they say that any business or any company or any organization, the learning ability is actually, they say it is the most sustainable competitive edge in the future, which means that you can learn faster and better than your competitor. So literally that's what you mentioned. If you do good for your own people, you're good for the environment, that is your competitive edge, and you make yourself different and stands out in the market.
And your team, your workers, they will be proud and happy to work for you.
But that actually happening now. When people go to, they don't know whenever the future job could be good for them. They're gonna get a good pay on time or anything. But if they heard that company is doing good with the leader doing the right thing, then what happen? Then actually, but that is also, or maybe we would good for the first question. I think we start with continuous. Okay. Thank you, Ambassador. I think the first part, all of what you already giving us, you already cover most of my question already.
Good. It's a natural flow, which makes the conversation, I think, more nice.
And every time you would stop and we would continue with another question, but let's not make it too long. We go back to the second one. It's completely relevant to the very final insight you just share about setting an example in an organization, in a company, where the boss actually have to show that they good. I remember some company, they call the boss is actually a brother. In Asian culture, they call you have to act like a brother, big brother, who take care of other people, who know where need to go to have a vision, but at the same time, you make sure that people underneath you understand and following your example. So your point underneath, very final one, is really important. And then that's lead me to the next question with story of sexual harassment, at least in Vietnam, which is not new, but it's getting, growing at it, because we know that this concept has been introduced by a lot of organizations, including government like Netherlands, but in Vietnam with those different projects. And we understand that it's getting more for the public that it shouldn't be happening in Vietnam. is a bad thing.
Yes.
Like people don't like it happen. But at some point, it's not easy. If you look at in this picture, this is the story in a company whose basically the governance itself was actually come between the lowest level to the little higher up to the HR manager. If there's any sexual harassment actually happening in the workplace, but it's not go up to the top,
right?
Where the top might be, one of one who actually create the problem.
Yes.
So what do you think when you look at in this comic? What do you think is that truly happening, not just in Vietnam or anywhere else? And what is the good thing we have to learn now in order to make it, happen faster and in the better way to actually end this?
Well, sexual harassment and sexual misconduct is not a typical Vietnamese thing. I think it's happening all over the world.
Yeah.
So it also happens in the Netherlands. And I think worldwide we have seen a number of examples of sexual misbehavior in sports. We have currently a case in the Netherlands that sexual misconduct took place in a very popular TV program, and obviously it's horrible.
Yes.
And earlier we were talking about the fact that workers or people in general, they can only thrive when they feel safe and secure. Right. And I think one of the most important responsibilities of company leaders or organizational leaders is that they make sure that everything is in place to make workers feel safe and secure.
Right.
So that is on the one hand side, that these are rules of engagement.
Yes.
But it is also, apart from the rules, there also needs to be a practice. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands has very high integrity standards. And leaders, managers, directors, director generals, ambassadors, we are upholded to the highest level of integrity.
Yes.
And we are expected to lead by example. Mm-hmm. So, and this is an issue that we discuss every year with our bosses during our performance interviews. And we also ensure that if people feel unsafe on the work floor, that they have opportunities to escalate that, to communicate about that. So there's always, in every organization or in every department, there is what we call, I think a good translation would be a person that you can trust.
Yes.
In case you are feeling insecure or unsafe.
Yes.
Or if you feel that integrity is being hampered. So we are there's a zero tolerance about that.
That's really
so rules, regulations, but also in practice, zero tolerance. Mm. And as regards integrity issues, as well as misbehavior and sexual misbehavior. Does that mean that it does not happen? No, unfortunately no, because human beings are human beings.
Yep.
But at least we try to manage it, to prevent it. And we also encourage people to speak up about it.
Yes.
Either victims or people in the vicinity of victims. So if you see it, you don't keep it to yourself, you talk about it.
Yes.
So what is happening in Vietnam, I think it's very good that in the new labor code,
yes,
there's a number of articles that
yes.
address
Yes. Very strong,
sexual misconduct.
Yes, very strong about how this misconduct will be
Yes.
treated. Sometimes including firing and your termination of contract if the situation happens.
Yes, but it's also very important that I think now it is that it is now also established what sexual misconduct is.
Yes, yes,
because
yes, it's happening.
This interview is also about learning.
Yes,
I think it is very important,
yes.
and then we go back. I think parents and teachers, we should learn our children
yes.
and our students about appropriate ways to behave towards each other.
Yes,
yes. In general as human beings.
Yes.
But also between men and women.
Yes.
And especially when men and women are in a hierarchical relation at some point in time.
Yes, yes.
Because it
definitely
cannot be allowed.
Yeah.
Not in an equal hierarchical relationship, nor in a hierarchical relationship.
Yes.
So I think a good development that it is now in the labor code.
Yes.
Sexual harassment on the work floor. But I would also say it should also address sexual behavior in the vicinity of the work floor.
Yes.
So not only between office hours and in the office.
Yes.
But if your colleague or your boss harasses you outside office hours or outside on the parking lot,
yes,
that's exactly the same.
Yes.
And it cannot be tolerated.
Thanks to your mention, I think it's important, and think we will need to go to that initiative later on with company really start to have manager and their own worker really invested in their time of teaching their kid at home from 0 to 16. All this behavior, all the mindset about good or bad, what you can do, what you cannot do is right there. So maybe it's some sort of a social responsibility that companies should do for their own worker and for their own future generation. I think that's something that's really hope like you have more company doing that. But for now, I think what we are trying to do, and I want to hear it from you, whether it should be the right way to go, where we mainly handling the situation right now, which means current workforce. And current business situation and culture, corporate culture, where we think that mainly the reason why many good companies still love to do and do it right. Mm-hmm. The main thing is they don't know how to. And I met just some big company, they know that it's right thing, they do go through all the training, they know it's right, but how to do it? So we actually have a number of activity and realize that mainly because most of the guidance that people get from is how to do it good by this much thick of standard and regulation. And then at the same time, people still busy work their job. Mm-hmm. If you would be able to make it simpler and very much focus on the main message, and then invested in tools or procedure, especially invested in people. We remember we have, a program that making sure that 200 workers voting for 5, we call it the ambassador back then, workplace ambassador, who they trust the most to handling this situation when it happened, sexual harassment and sexual assault. And they did. Yes. And it happened. And then we're giving them tools to make sure that all the vague and blur and gray areas would be off. And then how to identify the problem, how to solve it in the good manner, and of course in the right time and make it faster than normal. But interestingly, when we actually put into practice, the 5 ambassadors find it a difficult time because they have to share their time with other jobs, which is more a priority. So the message is to bring to the company here is not only they giving people some power, but also resources, the time to make sure that they could be able to do the job when it happened. Yeah. So what we has been building is make sure that there is some sort of communication flow in a simple way, mainly in picture, comics, and infographic that make people in one organization, effectively understand the policy,
Yes.
Anti-sexual harassment policy in the faster way.
That sounds excellent.
What do you think about that?
I think I think it's good, but I think it's very important that you properly explain also what is sexual harassment.
Yes, yes.
What might be a comfortable arm on your shoulder might be very uncomfortable for someone else.
Yes, yes.
And that someone else should be allowed to speak up about it and say, hey, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yes.
Please don't do it.
Yes.
And that should then be respected.
Yes.
And so I think pictures explaining and posters explaining things, I think that is a good start. But you also should have a conversation about it.
Right.
And the management should be involved.
Yes.
Set an example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, you don't obviously, if you have an annual performance interview, you should talk about or an annual performance interview, or you have a talk with your shareholders or your investor. Make it part and parcel of the conversation.
Yes.
What about sexual harassment on your work floor? What did you do to prevent it? How did you engage with your workers? Do your workers, did you establish an integrity officer where people can go to? How often do you talk to your integrity officer?
Yes.
So if the answer is 0, I would say no bonus. If the answer is, I sit together with the man or the woman who is the integrity officer 3 times per half year or 5 times per year, that's fine.
Yes, yes.
So you make it part of, you make it part and parcel of the company's operations.
It's make it like for DNA of conversation and dialogue.
Yeah, but on the other hand side, we also have to realize that if it happens and you're a victim, it is not easy to speak up. You might be intimidated, you might feel insecure.
Yeah.
So
feel like you're retaliated and...
Yeah, that can all be in the game. Because sometimes sexual harassment is predator behavior.
Yes.
So and it should not be tolerated. But when it happens for the victim, it is usually very, very difficult to speak up and out. So
definitely, yes. That's also in so many projects that we're seeing now. Right now, even victim doesn't want to even talk about it because they don't see there's any protection out there, and even they talk about it, they see the consequences later on them, not on others.
Yeah.
But that's why we encourage company or organization to do the good thing. Let's start really aggressively and no tolerant with obvious misbehavior, meaning that what the people can see and perceive is a truly misconduct or repeated and systematic misconduct. Yeah. And really working on zero tolerance on that first. And then later on, it would spread out, saying that this is unacceptable. And that may be the good way.
But you should engage the VCCI in this, I think.
Yes.
And some of the most prominent CEOs of larger companies, smaller companies.
We hope that with the program like Fellowship 100, we would have some company from different country who's already in Vietnam or in the future.
You should have Vietnamese CEOs talking about this.
Yes. That's one as an example. We're starting with non-Vietnamese who already know and have the culture, and then they set an example.
But my strong advice to you is find examples, leaders in the Vietnamese business community.
We do have some pretty strong voice already. But at the same time, we think that more is only the better. Only more
more is
better.
But
Yes.
make sure that you have Vietnamese ambassadors for this
Yes.
topic.
Yes, 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 definitely.
Men.
Yes, men.
Although
exactly.
women can also be predators, huh?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So thank you. This is great. Just want to hear one more last thing about what you're thinking. Maybe some of the picture story from Netherlands, if you may, to give some advice to the female leader or even potential female leader, how to make sure that when women in Vietnam, of course, increasingly getting stronger in the way they will see, love themselves, and value themselves. What you would giving them as an advice or some inspiring word about be taking your part in this society, in the economy, being good as a good leader, because when you have good leaders, you have an influence over the organization and more and beyond.
Well, in general, I have the highest respect for Vietnamese women, and I'm not sure that there is a lot of room for improvement, because I see women having a professional job, managing the household, in the weekdays, also keeping up with in-laws.
Yes.
And then also sometimes struggling to have a private life.
Yep.
So I think, and I've said that many times, and let me repeat it here, I think that Vietnamese women, they are champions in multitasking, but I don't envy them, because it's a lot. And I also think that Vietnamese women in general are undervalued. What they do for this economy and for economic growth is not enough valued, not enough appreciated, not enough acknowledged. So what I really hope for the Vietnamese women is that they can optimize and have their talents and their knowledge and experience grow without too much being hampered by societal and cultural expectations and norms.
Yeah.
Obviously, culture very important.
Yes.
But also culture is in a way contemporary. And if you try to impose ancient cultural and societal norms on a modern society like Vietnam is, you run the risk of losing out, because women are half of the population.
Right.
And you should use that part of the population to its fullest. And Vietnamese women are very strong, powerful people. So I wish them the best. And I learned a lot from them in the past 4 years.
Thank you so much. This is very nice. This is very encouraging, even for myself. I mean, anytime we heard about and we could be able to hear about, mainly working with you and other leaders, and then get encouragement together, like we women helping each other. I think that to make it short, there's so many things we still need to learn. I mean, if we'll be able to be strong as we plan to do, and we is that okay? Thank you for I think it's more of like your an encouraging words that as always towards Vietnamese women, including me, myself, and so many women out there. And I would like to say that maybe we still need to learn a lot, because maybe being strong is not enough. We need to learn better. Maybe sometimes we talk to ourselves, learn smarter, learn with some purpose, some goal. Because like you just mentioned it, there's so many dimensions we have to go through in order to make ourselves available and be happy at home, at the workplace, and then it's been so many things to study out there. So I just want to say thank you for what you've been doing for Vietnam, for Vietnamese women in general, and for some particular program that the embassy is having in Vietnam over the past years. we learn a lot, and we keep and get inspiring from the women from Netherlands would be able to do, because we also learn that there's the women from Netherlands also very strong, and we need to learn more about the way that we straightforward, showing that we love ourselves. So with that, I just want maybe a few second from you to you really talk about this Fellowship 100, the program that we would love to give coaching fellowship for about 100 female leader or potential female leader, because we think that how we learn about anything which is discussed, which is do you think it's in the good initiative to go? And if you have some advice for us, please let us know.
Well, I think the initiative obviously is a good one. You need to, the best way to learn is by listening carefully, looking carefully also to what other people are doing.
Yes.
So learn from each other, encourage each other, inspire each other. I think that's a very good idea, and it can only add to what the women entrepreneurs or the women leaders already have. So it's value added and an absolute good investment. So I would say go for it.
Thank you.
And make sure that women know where to find each other. I think that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have to find each other, because when in the other program we could record the story, hopefully 100 story, to share with you, even you is in Netherlands or anywhere in the world, and keep having your encouragement.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us, and wish
Gladly
you all
done.
the best.
Thank you.
For you whenever you are, and please come back anytime, and because you will be very missed in Vietnam.
Thank you very much. Xin cảm ơn.
Thank you.